Keaton, what was killing growth in your business in the past?
We were not maximizing our opportunity in customers' home by performing inspection and giving them three options.
Thank you for sharing. We're going to hear how that held the business back as well as what they did to change it. We're talking with business owners about the messy middle stage of growth where the company has grown, but the owner is working harder than ever because too much is still running through them. Today, Keaton shares about creating a management system so that growth doesn't keep pulling him into the day to day. Keaton owns Hudson Plumbing. They're a full service residential plumbing company. I'm Coach Tim Campsall, and this is Self Made as a Myth. Welcome to the show, Keaton.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Happy to be here, and I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning. Stepping into ownership requires a certain leap of faith. So, what made you believe that I can do this, even though you didn't have it all figured out?
Yeah, definitely still don't have it figured out. I would say, man, we have a great team, and we put a lot of emphasis on building that team. We're a family company, but yeah, certainly couldn't do it without all the people. And it's kind of why you got the podcast called, Self-Made as a Myth, but it truly is. And if it wasn't for the team, I mean, still to this day, I don't know where we would be or where I would be without just the great team that we have and we've put together over the years.
Fantastic. And you mentioned that it's a family owned business. So, what generation are you?
Yeah, second generation, been in business since 1992. Dad, mom, my wife, and that's it. We've had some other people come and go over the years, but yeah, us four have kind of been together for a while.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So now after the fact, right, in terms of stepping in and taking on more of that ownership leadership role, what's the biggest difference between what you expected ownership to be like and what it's actually been like?
Well, I guess I would say I expected to be running a plumbing company. And though that is what we do, what I have learned and am still learning is we're really in the people business.
Mm,
And really the skill and the learning curve comes in with managing people. So plumbing is what we do, but building a business is much more than just the single thing you do. So that's something I have learned, but am still learning. That
sure.
it's really about managing people and managing teams and systems. And so that'd be something that I have, what I maybe once thought, and now that I'm seeing and still seeing it is that
Yeah.
man, we're really in the people business and the
Yeah.
customer service business. So
Right.
I would say that's one of the biggest things I've learned.
It is a big paradigm from I hear it a lot of I went to school or I was taught or trained or apprenticed to in my art or my craft or my trade. And then I realized becoming a business owner that there's all these other business owner skills that I wasn't prepared for, right?
Right.
Wasn't taught or trained on and kind of, learning by drinking from the fire hose.
Exactly. Still daily. So yeah, you never stop learning. But yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Earlier, you shared that not maximizing customer opportunities when you're in people's home was killing growth. So walk us through that. What was happening? Why was that affecting growth? And what did you do to work through that?
Yeah. So let's just go back in the day, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we would get a call, let's just say a leak in the crawl space or a toilet issue. And our mindset was, let's just go there and fix the problem at hand, which is a part of it and is important. But we realized that we're kind of the doctors, the plumbing doctors when we go to the house. So,
Yeah,
we learned that by having a simple inspection that the technician does at every call and that our dispatch tells the customer about. Let's
yeah,
just use my example where there's a leak in a crawl space or maybe a couple leaks and it's 30, 40-year-old copper, 30, 40-year-old CPVC. What has benefited us is by talking to the customer about the benefits of what we would call repipe or cutting out all their old pipe and putting new pipe in, meaning going there and doing something that was beyond what was just a call. So the call
yes,
was a leak, but through training and through being intentional about having not only an inspection sheet where we call things out or say, hey, this looks good, keep an
yeah,
eye on this, followed by two to three is basically three options, could, should, must, that generated. I mean, it really changed everything for the
yeah,
business because now
yeah,
our technicians were almost marketers and it
yeah,
was essentially free because we were already at the house. So they were selling more workforce on the job, and it was a huge thing for us maybe about 2, 3 years ago that we started really doing, and now on a given month, 30 to 35% of our total gross revenue comes from the technicians going there for this
Yeah.
and then talking to them about the benefits or the need to repair or replace, and it leads to more workforce. So
Yes. Yeah.
that was a big thing, and there's even a lot more that goes into that because it starts with our dispatch. It starts with the training of the
Right.
guys and letting them
Yeah.
know the benefits, and you're doing the customer a service by talking to them
Yes.
about, "Hey,
Yes.
listen, there's a way to fix this to where you're not gonna be calling us back." And it's a little bit of a culture shift. It doesn't happen overnight, but with the right training and intentionality, you can do it.
I love the explanation that you gave because I hear a lot of times people, well, I don't want to I don't want to sell, and right, or the
Yep,
technician doesn't want to be put in that position. But when you shift the paradigm, as you just explained to, right,
yep,
we're actually helping people.
right,
It's preventative maintenance as opposed to selling, and the customer can still decide, but they can't decide if they don't have the diagnosis.
right. You know, and another thing, Tim, that goes with that, you're really not doing them a service if you go out there because the company has liability. Meaning, if we go out there and then a problem arises a month ago, we can go back and we can say to the customer, hey, we did mark this on the inspection sheet. We
Hey,
showed you, you opted to decline at the time. So it really also covers the company.
yeah,
And, we want to give them as much value. Some people might only call a plumber once every 2 to 3 years, 5 years, depending on what it is. So when we go there, they're not getting in their crawl space typically, right? They don't know what's really going on, so
right,
it's up to us to show them and
yeah,
educate them on what's going on, and you're right, you gotta get over what I would say the sales hurdle because we don't want or even need to sell anything that's not needed, but we also want to, you know, show them what's going on and give them the option to, get a new repipe. They don't know what that is, so it really comes we gotta be educators, and you do gotta kind of transition your people in the field
yeah.
to start thinking like that.
I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. And what were the 3 words that you said in terms of the now, later, or in the future or something?
Yeah, so should, could, and must. So,
Yeah,
and I can kinda break that down. So let's use my example. We go to a leak in a crawl space that's a water line leaking. That's like a must. Like, we're
yeah,
going there, we gotta fix that.
yeah.
But the the should would probably be, maybe cutting out a section of water line, like, maybe there's a section that's kinda corroded. The
Mm,
could would be, "Hey, it's 35 years old. This is your 2nd leak in 3 years. You could move forward and just do a repipe, and then we'll
yeah,
explain all that
yeah,
comes with it." So,
yeah,
sometimes those change depending on the severity of the job. Like, if there's 3 leaks, you might move the repipe to, like, almost a must. Like, "Listen, we're really at this point where you're just kind of wasting money. We need to
yeah,
do this." So, we
yeah,
wanna give them 3 options. There's science out there that says give 3 options. I know you're familiar with
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
do we do it every job? No, we should, but, it really works when you
Yeah,
stick to the process.
yeah, awesome. So thinking back to that, a few years ago when you were in that messy middle moment, what was the personal cost to you of not capitalizing on that system?
Yeah, I mean, I think it hurt a lot of things. It hurt growth. You might hear me saying this a lot during the show. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm,
We didn't know. At that time, we were kind of on paper tickets, and we just thought, "Hey, to be a good plumber, you show up and you fix the problem at
yeah,
hand." And
yeah,
again, of course, that's part of it, but you're leaving so much else out there. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it cost growth. It it caused us to not learn and to kinda adopt this mindset of just always learning and
yeah,
being curious and humble, which is what we
sure.
try to do now. So, yeah, I mean, of course, there's always cost to those kind of things when you're not realizing or you just don't know
Yeah, fair
that's a
enough.
thing. So,
Yeah. Keaton, earlier I mentioned that the lack of a management system keeps sucking you into the day to day. So,
yeah.
give us a little bit of context around, what's happening and how that affects you.
Yeah, I wish I could say that we fully figured that out. We're kind of in the process of it, but for example, the thing that I wrote down is customers maybe there's an issue in the field or there's an issue with a customer or somebody's upset. Those get elevated to me,
Hmm.
and currently still. So we're trying to, which pulls me out of what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
it could be 3, 4 times a day. So it's something we're looking at
Right.
because I'm still working. I'm kind of a hybrid. I work in the business and on the business,
Yeah.
which is not good. I need to work just on the business. So, we got to find a way, and a lot of it, maybe me, I need to relinquish some of that, some of the trust to find somebody that can handle those calls. And that's not just the only thing, but I would say, yeah, right now, if say I'm in the middle of working on the business,
Yeah.
I got to stop what I'm doing, go take a phone call.
Mm,
Depending on how the phone call goes, even though there's a part of me that enjoys that and fixing
yeah.
the problem,
Yeah.
it's distracting, and I kind of got to stop what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, finding those things that pull you out of the day to day and delegate those and then train on those. So it gives me more time. I would
Hmm.
say we've gotten better at it, but it's still, we're in the process of kind of identifying all those things and then coming up with a solution for them.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, if you enjoy it and you're good at it, it can be a natural solve, right? A quick
Yeah.
fix of let's just get Keaton because he
Right.
can quickly handle this.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, like the cost of pulling you out of the working on the business. So from that angle, then I know you're going to fix it, but if it doesn't get fixed, what does it cost the business?
I mean, it costs a lot. I mean, it's gonna cost our growth, my growth. It's gotta be, as an owner, as a manager, it's gotta be a kind of a shift in the mind that
Yeah.
you've gotta relinquish those things. And, that might be $100 to $200 an hour task. I
Mm,
need to be focused on the $1,500, $2,000 task, which is
right.
where we're
Yeah.
going, the vision, strategic moves, really. So, what will it cost? I mean, ultimately, it's gonna cost, the company time. It's gonna cost the company opportunities to grow and to find opportunities that are out there, whether that may be acquisitions or other markets that might be kind of ripe for the taking.
Yeah.
So, I've gotta find out a way to, is this task worth me doing? Can I give it up right now? So, yeah, I mean, there's a big cost to it, and, I think everybody would look back, all business owners would look back and wish that they had done some of these things in the past, because who knows where we would be, if we had done those things.
Sure.
But the good thing is to do them. Start
Yes.
doing it, start
Yes.
delegating, start building a team. And, though we've done those things, we've never arrived. We always want to stay curious and humble. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do think I think there's a huge cost to not doing those things now, because your competition, if they're of high quality, they're doing those things. And so, yeah, it's of the utmost importance, I would say.
I like what you said earlier about not one and done, right? That it's that you've made some progress, but it's a
Right.
continual evolution. And
Right.
and the reality is that the things that worked in the early growth stage of a business, no longer
Yes.
work in the messy middle stage, right? And
Exactly.
so it
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
constant reevaluation and tweaking and optimizing of all of the systems and
Yeah.
processes and
Yeah.
procedures, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Things that worked in the past, we're realizing that now we hit all our goals last year, and we've grown, and we've doubled in size in 2 years, but we realized to get to our next goal, we're gonna have to change things. Even the things that work, we're gonna have to reevaluate them. And you can kind of just force your way to a certain level, let's just say
Yeah.
gross revenue wise,
Yeah.
and it can work, and you don't even have to, I would say, have the best systems, but to get to these next levels, you wanna get to 10 million, you've gotta change everything. And so that's where we're at right now, is we're looking back, we're going, "Okay, it worked, but is this sustainable? Is this gonna work?" You don't know
Yes.
what you don't know, and that's yeah, we're
Yeah. The status is something around the percentage of only 9% of businesses ever make it to a million. And
okay, wow, yep,
typically what gets them there is hustle and grind, right? The working hard, working long, everything runs through the owner, right? And all decisions, the owner's able to have a hand or a voice in everything that's happening. Less than 1% of businesses ever make it to 10 million. And the reason is because that hustle and grind, work hard and long, right, leads to burnout. And right, then the owner just can't do everything that they did in that early growth stage. And right, the business outgrows the systems and the structure and how the business is being run. And
yep,
so you
yep,
mentioned
that's it.
like, there's a significant shift that has to happen in order to be able to get to that 10 million and beyond and truly be able to scale.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you said it. It's gotta be a mind shift change, especially on the owner or the, upper management. You've gotta be on your game, and you've gotta create systems that are scalable and that maximize you got to be numbers driven. If you're in business, especially in the trades, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to protect your gross margin at all cost.
Yeah.
You've got to know what your field labor, you need to know what your material cost is.
Yeah.
Those numbers are really, really important. So are we profitable?
Yeah.
That's I mean,
Yeah.
we're in the business to make money, but
Yes.
does this
Yes.
allow for us to go out and seize opportunities that may be out there and to get
Absolutely.
the best
Right.
people in? You want the best people, you gotta pay them.
Yes. Yeah.
You better make sure your pricing is right, but yeah, like you said, just because you hustle and you worked hard to get to a certain level, but that doesn't mean it's gonna continue to work, so you've gotta really honestly, I think you gotta get help in there. If you just focus on what you know, you probably don't know how to do it, and I think you
Sure.
gotta be honest with yourself.
Sure.
Do
Yeah.
I know how to get to the next level?
Yeah.
And
Fair
most
enough.
likely, at least in our case, we didn't/don't. So get outside help. Again, I've said it many times. You don't know what you don't know, and then you
Yeah.
learn it and you go, wow, I thought we were doing this right. You compare yourself to another company, you go, oh man, we're doing great. We get
Yeah.
all these,
Yeah. Fair.
but there's some big players out there and they've got this stuff figured out. So you got to kind of adapt and, work smarter, not harder. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll throw that saying in. Maybe that's, appropriate. So
Keaton, what lesson do you wish you'd learned earlier, so that it didn't cost the business as much? And what did not knowing that earlier cost?
yeah, building systems. Absolutely. I mean, building systems is key. Knowing your numbers early on. We don't want to shoot from the hip. We want to get away from gut decisions. We want data to dictate all of your decisions. Data tells you when you should buy equipment. Data tells you when you should hire, when you should let go. So early on, I wish we had maybe adopted even software
Mm.
quicker and, kind of the technology because, you got to stay ahead of it. So, but I would say building sustainable systems where people come in and have clear expectations on what's expected. We've not done a great job with that in the past, where it's clearly defined.
Yeah.
And essentially, you're building a management system that just happens to be doing plumbing,
Right.
HVAC, roofing,
Yes.
whatever. You,
Yes.
you need to build the business model, and it doesn't really matter what you're doing. We just happen to be doing plumbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but those thoughts, even a year ago, 2 years ago, were very foreign to us.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, we realized, yes, we hit our goals. We got to the level that we've wanted to and been chasing for 5 years. But you have to keep going. You smell the roses a little bit, but to get to the next level, we realized we're like, oh no, we got to change everything. We got to get better systems. We need to know our numbers even better.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I wish we had done earlier. I just think we'd be farther ahead. Everybody could say that, but building systems that last and that don't depend on you as a business owner, manager, is key because, A, you don't want to be burnt out. And B, you want to create a system where people can come in a pipeline and they know exactly what they're doing, exactly
Yeah.
what's expected.
Yeah.
And there's clear ramifications if they don't. So having an accountability system. So, and I mean, I could go on and on about
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
things I wish we would have done, but
what I'm
right.
what I'm hearing a couple of times you've said during our chat is that really you're transitioning from the profession of plumbing to the profession of business ownership.
Exactly. Yep. And
Right.
business management. Yep.
Yeah. We know that self-made is a myth. You mentioned it earlier. So, Keaton, who are the three people that you wouldn't be where you're at in terms of the success that the business has achieved without them, and how did they help you along the way? So, who are the three people and how they help?
Yeah. So three people would be mom, dad, and then my good friend who's worked with us and I've known for 15 years. He's our marketing director, Elliot. So mom and dad in the sense that they always told me the hard truth. They said, "Hey, you're kind of veering off path." So that was always good. And they still do that to this day. So, they held me accountable and still do, which is good. And then Elliot, like I said, good friend. He's our marketing director. I would say he's the brains of our operation. Me and him have a lot of different skill sets, so we work off each other really well. So some of my weaknesses is his strengths and vice versa. So with the marketing, we have a really robust marketing plan that he manages, and he's always on the leading edge of technology. And I mean, he helps me with my computer stuff. I'm not big into technology, believe it or not, even though I'm kind of young. I just not. But Yeah, he's been integral in he taught us a lot about business, I would say. When he first came on, he came from the military and he had a background in, marketing, and which was huge because we didn't have anything 5 years ago. I mean, it was
Okay.
like guerrilla marketing and we had
Yeah.
like 29 reviews online, and in the last 5 years, I mean, like I said, we have a very robust marketing plan/budget.
Yeah.
We're in 18 to different areas that we target marketing wise. And we track them and we know what our ROIs are, and we have specific targets for specific areas. And so
Mhm.
he's built all that. Nothing, I couldn't have done that. I'm not knitted
Yeah.
in that way.
Yeah.
So those three people, mom, dad, and Elliot, have been crucial to not only me, but I would say the company.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you for sharing. It's important to have those folks in our life, and as business ownership is it's not a linear path, right? There's some ups and downs, so having
Right.
others that we can rely on super important. So to that point, in your journey, when you felt stuck or overwhelmed, tell us how the idea of trying to figure it out on your own held you back, and what changed, when you brought in outside perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a broken record saying that you don't know what you don't know. So until you get somebody that has more experience, being willing to willing to say, "Hey, I don't know. What have you seen?" Man, that's been huge for us to get people out there who have been in business, who and not even plumbing really. I'd almost suggest whatever your field is, to get somebody kind of an outside view and to have them come in and just look at your processes and map everything you do
Yeah.
to find, the bleeds in the company, to find where you're spending too much money or maybe you're not spending enough money in this area. So, yeah, I would say you gotta be willing to learn and go read some books.
Yeah.
Go read some books on the things you don't know.
Yeah.
But I would say those things, yeah, what I thought I could just figure out myself, and you kinda hit a wall and you're like, "I don't know how to scale this wall," and neither does my dad,
Yeah.
who has been in business since '92.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some skills that we don't have, and we need to be willing to go, "Hey, we might be able to, we kinda need some help here." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
the good thing is we did that and are doing that, but, man, you don't wanna be in a place where you think you can figure it out. It's all already been solved. It's a
Right.
science. It's
Yes.
already out there. Go find the people who know how to do it. This is not a new thing, and do what they do. Don't reinvent something that's already invented.
Yeah.
You can steal it. Just go take it from somebody that's already go
Absolutely,
take it from
right?
somebody that's already successful. Yeah.
Follow up to that, oftentimes I'll hear folks say, "Well, I'm too busy." Right? What advice would you have for those folks?
Yeah, I mean, if you specifically as a business owner manager are too busy, that is a sign that, hey, it's time you gotta look at that and figure it out, kind of like a red flag,
Mm,
right? Of course, you're always gonna be busy as a business owner, but what are you busy with? Are you doing the $100 to $200 task, or are you doing the $2,000 task, like the
right.
vision and where we're gonna go and building the team around you that supports you and that you support them? So, yeah, you're gonna be busy, but what are you busy doing and can it be delegated? I guess I would say you need to ask yourselves those questions and ask a lot of questions and go ask other people. Ask other people what your weaknesses are and, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" Or, "Hey, we're stuck. I'm stuck here. We're stuck here. What are you seeing?" Especially your upper management and see what they, because we all have blind spots and you need to
Absolutely.
set up a team that covers your blind spots. So yeah, I guess that's how I would answer that.
Awesome. Keaton, another advice question. So for fellow business owners who are in this messy middle growth stage that we've been talking about today, what's your biggest piece of advice for them?
Yeah. Well, I guess if you're in the messy middle, congratulations, you're doing it, right? That's why you're in the messy middle. Man, I would say to a lot of the things we talked about, get in, get some help in. There's, that Allah, that's what you do, right? You're a coach. You need to get somebody to help you figure out where you're missing it, where your bleeds are, where your blind spot is specifically as a business owner, because we all have them. And you better figure that out. But I would say that's my biggest thing. You need to get somebody else in other than if you've just figured it out and you've grinded to a certain point, that's not going to work to get
Mm,
to the next level. And if you're not really growing, you're kind of dying, right? Everybody
mm,
knows that. It's a saying in
yeah.
business, meaning your employees, they want to make more money. They want to feel like they're in a company that's growing and doing cool things. And so really for us, we realize it's kind of our responsibility. Like we owe it to the
Mm,
community, our people. We have to adapt. We can't just do what we want anymore. So, we got people that are following us and we're responsible for in some ways, where they go and how successful they are.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
get other people that are smarter than you in here into your business to look at it and to have the experience and that can help you implement some of the changes that are needed.
I love it. Love it. Um, Keaton, how did you know? So one of the things I just heard you say is, hey, if you're in it and you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, like look beyond and ask for help. How did you know, right, to look for help versus, the historical viewpoint of, well, what got us here was just working hard and long, so we'll just
Yep.
work harder and longer.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, probably my dad always had a saying, and he's recently realized that this works to a certain point. He said, fake it till you make it. And you can fake it till you make it. You mentioned the 1 million, um, or it could even be all the way up to 5 million. You can kind of fake it till you make it. But at some point, we just, I think, got desperate. We're like, well, then we're missing something.
Mhm.
Because I got some friends in the industry that are doing what I want to do. I'm
Yeah.
like, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
And you realize that, man, surround yourself with some smart people. And again, I use these two words: be curious and humble. Ask questions and reach out. So we live in the day and age where, it's just an excuse because there's information everywhere. We live in
Yes.
the information age.
Yeah.
So it's out there. And like I said, there is a right way to do it. Just do it your way. Do it the way that is proven to work. So, but I think for us, as I look back, I think it was just, of course, there will be some people solicit things to us and you're kind of curious and maybe it was a phone call, but it really just come down to we want to grow. So we have a growth mindset and
Yeah.
we have big aspirations. So those were always kind of guiding us. And honestly, we had people on our team that seen things that even me and my dad didn't,
Mm,
that are built and geared a little different, that were maybe pushing us, hey, we need to do software. Hey, we need to build these systems in place.
right.
We need to look into coaching and things like that. So yeah, have people on your team that are curious and that will explore things and take risks. I mean, I would say take risks too. You're going to make, I mean, 2 out of 10 decisions might be right. 8 might be
Yeah.
wrong,
Right.
but make them, make them and then go, oh, hey, that didn't work. Let's not
Yeah.
do that. So I think it's a myriad of things, but for us, I think we just got to the point, we wanted to grow and I think we realized that we had reached our capacity for what we knew in house.
Yeah.
So we looked outside.
Love it. Sounds like, Keaton, that there's been a lot of people in your company's journey that have helped you along the way. If they were all here today, what would you want to say to them?
Well, I'd probably apologize to them for having to deal with me all the time. But I mean, kind of serious, kind of joking. But yeah, I mean, I would say thanks. We're still on this journey together. But I certainly have some strengths. I have a lot of weaknesses, and for me, it's just about learning where my weaknesses are, and then putting people that have that are not weak in that area. But yeah, I mean, I would tell them, hey, let's keep going with me on this journey. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a job. So we wanna keep the main thing the main things, right? We're a faith-based company. That's the biggest thing. It is just a job at the end of the day. Whether you become a $100 million company or you're doing 100 grand, you know, we all have the same outcome. We're not gonna be here forever,
Yes.
right? So that guides me personally. So, but being that we're here, let's do this together. Let's have fun along the way. Yeah, it's serious what we do, but we
Yeah.
gotta have fun, like I said, even though it's business, it is just a job at the end of the day. And whether you end up being 100 million or $100,000 company, you know, you can be miserable at $100 million company and be happy at 100,000 or a million.
Right.
So I think it's being content, but also wanting to grow. But yeah, I would just say to those people, sorry, thank you, and let's keep going.
Awesome. Keaton, I appreciate you sharing your story today. Thanks
Yeah.
for being on the show.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me anytime.
For those listening, if you're stuck in the messy middle, there's a way through it. As Keaton said, you don't have to figure it out on your own. Our 2 week training and coaching trial helps you get clear on what needs to change and how to do it. The link is in the description. If this conversation resonated, like it, comment on it, and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. That's it for today. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next time.